Right here we have a very special 535 E34. I know from the outside it might look unassuming, and even from the engine bay it looks pretty unassuming. However, this is a pretty special car, as our stack of records here will show us. And this right here is why this is a special 535. This is a Metric Mechanic 3.7 liter M30 engine. So the quick backstory with this car, it was listed up for sale up in Washington State, and the ad was pretty, unassuming. The pictures weren't all that good. It had a great description, and the description told you exactly what all this was, yet it just kind of sat on Marketplace, and the price was cheap. And I think that's why, it scared people away. And honestly, going into this, a couple people sent me it. I thought this was gonna be a parts car with, a good engine. This is actually a really nice 535, and I wasn't expecting that, but the price I paid for this, next to a free car. Let's just put it that way. I like way cheap, but it doesn't come without its issues, of course. We're gonna go through the stack of records. We're gonna check out the car. We're going to verify it actually is what it says it is, and we'll see what happens here, I guess. So this 535 has been in the hands of the same owner since 1998, with records dating all the way back to 1998. The guy I got it from was his neighbor, and he convinced him to sell it, and then he never really did anything with it because he's got a ton of cars, so he passed it on forward. But the quick overview of the car itself, this is obviously a black 535i. I believe it's a 1990 M30B37, not anymore. But we have a black interior on this car as well. Really nice black interior. Headliner, brand new, just done. Obviously, it's a 5-speed car. We got what I believe are the 95 door panels. I'm not quite sure. I feel like with the extended leather, they're 95, unless these early 535s came with that too. It's got the Canadian optioned, I think, rear headrests, but I don't understand where they are. I don't know if they pop up or if they're missing, but it has them. We got a ski pass with a stock cat in there. We got a couple bins of spare parts, which we all know is my favorite thing ever. Still got the Washington plate on there. And some other various parts. Oh, here's the headrest. Okay. Yeah, so it does have the rear headrest. I don't know why he took them off. But we got a sunroof panel, Bentley manual, some spare belts, etc. Looks like a heat shield for the intake, spare valve cover, K&N air filter, another air filter, AC compressor. So you've got some decent spare parts in here, but that's not why we're here. We're here to see what's up with this engine. Body of this car, super nice. It's filthy. I shipped it via open trailer. You may notice we have 850 wheels on it, the I don't know, throwing star-like wheels. Paint's actually in decent shape, except for the bumpers. Looks like they've been rattle canned, so it looks like it's had the bumpers replaced once upon a time, both the front and the rear. We got some, looks like hazing on the hood that I think could maybe be buffed out, or it's just going to be painted. 540 front brake ducts fitted into the stock bumper, kind of interesting. It's got smiley Euro headlights. It said M5 front brakes. They might just be 540, I'm not sure. If you get under there, Racing Dynamics front and rear sway bars, apparently. It has Dynon springs, if the records are correct. So we have a lot of goodies just on the chassis itself, regardless of the engine. It's got a M5 clutch setup in it, I believe. We'll go through the records and actually get exactly what it is, but yeah, it's a solid car taking away the engine, right? It's just looking at it, this is a beautiful rust-free 535. I mean, even the doors, no rust on the doors, which really blew me away. But I guess it makes sense because Washington is not a rusty state. But let's see where all the fun is at. So I'm gonna read through these rather than showing them. I don't want to give away the guy's name and address and stuff. As I said, we have a Metric Mechanic 3.7 liter engine. If you're not familiar with Metric Mechanic, it's a company that started by Jim Rowe in I think the mid to late 60s. And they started by just basically tinkering with BMWs. Jim was I think a 2002 guy or a 1600 guy at the time. And he just started tinkering and this and that. And then, they expanded, became a mechanic shop. and then they started doing cool modified stuff. So this may go over the head of a lot of the younger people watching, even people my age, because this is Metric Mechanic, even though it's still around, it's not really, I don't want to say it's not as popular, but I don't know, like you can't really get a hold of them like you used to be able to. You don't really hear many people doing Metric Mechanic things, which is interesting. So anyway, this is a 3.7 liter M30. And basically what they do here is they bored out 95 millimeter pistons, high flow head, upgraded oil pump. They port and polish. They do so much stuff. So I'm gonna try to read through here. What I don't know is if this is the 3.7 Sport or the 3.7 Rally. They got rid of the 3.7 Sport. They improved it with the Rally engine. That's just the way they name it. Being that all this was done in 2005 or 2004, I want to say it's probably the first iteration. So what I'm reading here may not be perfectly true to this very engine, but a quick excerpt on what the 3.7 Rally engine would be. It is a 286 horsepower 3.7 liter M30. Just to put that into perspective, 287 horsepower from a single cam M30 is insane, because an S38B35 is rated at, I think, 286. So they're making crazy power from what is regarded as a unmodifiable engine if you're looking for power gains. Basically, you could do anything you want to an M30. If it's not forced induction, it's not making any power. Cams, all that stuff, basically you don't get power out of them. 285 horsepower, sorry. But so here, the quick kind of rundown with this engine is, piston rod weight is ½ pound lighter than the earlier 3700 Sport. Piston is 50 G's lighter. They use a 143 millimeter H-beam rod. Stock bearings are replaced with special coated rod and main bearings. That's probably not true to this engine if it's an older one. So the displacement is 3,657 cc's, 95 millimeter bore by 86 millimeter stroke. Compression ratio is raised to 10 to 5. Machine ported and hand blended for 16% flow over stock. 290 degree cam with a 10.75 millimeter lift. Surface turbulence looks like concentric grooving is done to the valves in the combustion chamber walls. Increases fuel economy and a cleaner running engine. Metric Mechanic dual valve springs, dual chamber sprayer bar, manganese bronze valve guides and Viton valve guide seals, new rocker arms, the ported head, 16% more flow, increased cylinder filling, and adds 10% increased torque. Cam has a larger intake lobe than the exhaust. That's super interesting. And going down to the block, you have hard anodized 95 millimeter pistons, tapered wall piston pins, molly rings, H-beam rods, single row timing chain, oil pump chain, guide and tensioner, and then you have a Sport upgraded oil pump. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much the thick of it. So you have a seriously modified engine, assuming this is what it says it is. We have the invoices for Metric Mechanic. If you're wondering, the price that they list for these engines, the 3.6 millimeter engine is $16,000. The turbo 3.5 is $18,000. You can expect this is somewhere in between the $16,000 to $18,000 range if you were to go to Metric Mechanic and straight up buy one of these engines. This, I think, was more so the parts were bought and then it was kind of assembled by a different shop. I don't think it's a Metric Mechanic like out of the factory engine, but not cheap by any means. And the crazy part is, you look in this engine bay, except for the Racing Dynamics headers, you would think, oh, it's like looks like a stock M30. To the trained M30i, there's a few things here that are different. First off is obviously the fuel pressure gauge. That's a dead giveaway that something's done. You have a forward MAF, so that's obviously different than the AFM. Then there's an IAT sensor fastened into the airbox. Really cleanly done, really nice job. Everything else from the outside, completely stock. So that is why I'm on a mission here to open up this valve cover and see for ourselves, because it'd be very disappointing if this is not the engine. But here we have invoices, 3,700 pistons for Metric Mechanic, rings, and the head gasket. We have the head, the high flow Sport head, $1,800 back in 2003. That's pretty damn expensive. Blueprinted oil pump, and then the core deposit for the head. So this guy spent $2,600 alone for the head and the oil pump, $1,300 for the pistons, Then Accurate Engines in Washington basically built the engine. So cleaning it, they bored the block, rebushed the rods, assembled the short block, polished the crank, balanced the assembly, new bearings. That was $1,600 back in 2005. And then otherwise in here, we have tons of just old research on modified M30 engines. We got like modifying timing, we got adjusting AFM, so many funny like things, like how to fix a rough idle. I mean, it's hilarious, this stuff. We have a ton of receipts from BMA in California, which is funny because when I'm out there, you know, road tripping or whatever, I usually need parts from them. But you know, just standard maintenance stuff, water pumps, gaskets, all that, all the way back to 98, which is really, really awesome. Let's dive in. Let's crack open this valve cover and see for ourselves. The beauty of this car, and the reason why I wasn't afraid to buy it, is because what I paid for this car, you would pay for a stock 535 and be completely content with it. I don't want to say gave it away, but, and the intake's all torn, so this boot's shot, so we have massive intake leaks here and here. It doesn't really matter because this car, the kicker with this car was it was run on some sort of engine management, I can't quite remember, like an old school like micro squirt, and it got stolen. So it runs, but doesn't have any of the piggyback that it needs. This whole intake system's ravaged, the boot's shot, so that's definitely giving us running problems. However, as I was saying, this car is on like a piggyback, like an old early 2000s, you know, this is the prime of like these sort of cars and these engines was like the early mid 2000s. So it's on that old school piggyback, but I believe it's still on a factory ECU, and we're gonna open this up and see in a minute. But the piggyback was run by a laptop that had all the tuning on it, and the laptop was stolen out of the car. So it runs, but it doesn't really run. This car, in order to get it to what we need to get it to be, is gonna require, this is interesting, getting the Ford MAF to work. It's gonna require a standalone. So this is gonna be a bit of a legit series we're gonna have to do here on this car. And I don't know when, how, why we'll do it, but we'll do it. Sorry that it seems like I'm introducing just a ton of projects and like I may be struggling with the follow-ups. I promise you, all these cars that I've been showing you and we've been announcing and everything, especially like the red M5, I know a lot of people want to see the red M5. We are going to get to all of them. I just need to find the time because I'm a busy guy, man. This is the full time, so. Moment of truth. Please show me a Metric Mechanic camshaft in here. Okay. So you can see here, racing dynamic headers, but now we got to look in here and we got to figure this out. So obviously we have safety wire on the banjo. It's a good sign. It means some things have been done in here. But now I'm trying to look and see. Single row timing chain, which I believe, didn't I say they, yeah, M30s are dual, right? So M30 with a single row, that does corroborate with the Metric Mechanic story. And I can't tell based off the lobes if they're any different. But do we have dual valve springs? Oh yeah. All right, so we do have dual valve springs. Hard to see, but you can see them if you get the right angle. I'll just take a picture for you guys, it'll be easier. So you could barely see it, but there is dual valve springs. So that's good. That does tell me that this is probably a Metric Mechanic head, but I really wanted to see some MM. We have Ford Mustang injectors as well, I forgot to mention. Because the rocker arms, they're just Febbies, but Metric Mechanic doesn't use their own rocker arms. They just use new and inspected rocker arms. Okay, we spun it over. Let's see. Do we see anything new? MT8 stamped on the cover, or on the timing gear. Oh, it should have an adjustable one. Okay, yeah, it does. So it does have an adjustable timing gear, which is good. Again, that does signify a Metric Mechanic head because they did install that so you could retard or advance your timing. This could be a stock cam because if it's not a full-on Metric Mechanic built engine, it may be a stock camshaft. and just the high flow head, and then the bored bottom end. The bottom end, I don't think there's any way of me telling you guys. Yeah, no, I'm not seeing anything on this cam that's telling me it's anything special. So I mean, yeah, there's nothing screaming out to me with the MM stamping, but the dual valve springs kind of tells us what we need to know, and the adjustable timing gear also tells us. So I would say I'm gonna believe that this is the 3.7 that it says it is. I guess we won't know until we get it running and we start ripping this thing and get maybe some power numbers, then we would know. Because what I don't get is if like half the tune laptop was stolen, how does it still run? Which leads me to believe it has to have like a stock ECU in here. It's all piggybacked, modified. So this is, I'm sure this is just gonna be a nightmare of 2000s things. Ugh. About what I expected. We do have a stock Motronic ECU in here. This is factory to the car. And then this is all piggyback stuff. And it's labeled though, which is nice. So we have MAF source signal. We have a watt disable switch. Oh, no way you could disable full throttle or watt. I don't know why you would disable that. But yeah, this is the beauty of, you know, 90s, 2000s, you know, standaloning. Not like we have it now where you could buy a plug and play into your factory harness and be done. This is all altered stuff. Well, basically all this comes out of here and then it comes over into the glove box. And in the glove box is where the other half of the fun is. And that is this right here. So let's see the name. Perfect Power SMT8T Smart Tuner. Yeah, affordable tuning ability. So this is, I guess, what you would call a piggyback. And they call it a piggyback because basically it jumps into the stock ECU and it helps the car with the additional requests like a MAF, bigger injectors, more power, etc. So this then, I guess, was plugged into a laptop which was stolen out of the car. And I'm not sure why this doesn't save the tune on it. You would think it would. And now that I'm thinking about this, that's kind of weird to me because I feel like the laptop shouldn't have the tune. The tune should be raw it should be uploaded to this. Someone maybe could help me with this. I don't want to get our hopes up, but is there a chance that if we just fixed the intake leaks, this would run? Because I'll show you guys right now when we start the car what the problem is. It can't really rev. She is alive. And yeah, intake leak, intake leak. It is a really smooth M30. It sounds really good. But you can see, you can't really rev it. If you ease into it, then yes, but otherwise, no. Woo! Yeah, backfire. Yeah, so it doesn't have much of a, I don't think that's a tune thing. I'm pretty sure that's a, or I don't think that's just an air leak. I think the tune is completely off. Yeah, so she runs, doesn't really drive, and it is a peculiar issue. I don't know why that laptop getting stolen did that. I don't know why the tune's not built into the piggyback. I'm pretty confused about that. If anyone has any input and is more familiar with that piggyback than me, if I fix these little air leaks, will it run good? I kind of don't think so, but you guys can maybe let me know that answer. So we'll cover this rat's nest up. So that is our Metric Mechanic 535. I know it ain't much to show right now because she's not quite running, but in the future, we will dive into this and we will solve this. So I have no real reason to not believe that this is the true 3.7 engine because all those records dating back to 98, VIN verify the car. This is the car that all those records hold on to. The guy I got it from, great dude, who was neighbors of the guy, I believe the guy that was long-term owner of this car. And neither of them, I'm not under the impression that either of them would have stolen the engine and made it half stock. If you have all this piggyback stuff, you have the adjustable timing cam, the headers, if someone parted this out for the good stuff, you're not leaving all that. I don't think a stock 3.5 would be running on this piggyback nonsense or a stock AFM. So I'm pretty positive this is what it's supposed to be. But ultimately, you know, we need to drive it to really kind of figure that out. So alleged 285 horsepower M30. How wicked is that? These are 196 horsepower stock, by the way. So that is crazy gains on still a single cam. I can't wait to kind of dive into this. Again, the car is just way nicer than I thought. Needs a little love here and there, but our main concern is to get this running. So I don't know what the plan is with the car. I'm gonna look up if my Mega Squirt can do more than one like tune on it at a time. I'll just take my ITB Mega Squirt and I'll get another tune made for this, and we'll just rip in. We'll get rid of this piggyback. To try to get the piggyback stuff to work is probably stupid. I don't know what would go into that. I don't know. I don't think it's worth trying. So you get a Mega Squirt for 800 bucks and plug and play it into the harness, add a O2 sensor or add a wideband. We already got the IAT, we already got the upgraded math. I think we should be like good to go. So I'm really excited to dig into this. I hope you guys are as well. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and we will see more of this car in the future. I don't know when, but definitely in the future. So.